Before we jump into this video, I just want to say that my maths acceleration classes have an opening for Saturday 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. The Tuesday session and Wednesday sessions are fully booked out and it's capped at 5 students max. So if you're interested in working with me to improve your maths and get ahead of methods 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 so you can cruise through VC without stressing and without having to memorize a million different formulas, you can work with me. The first session is completely free as a trial session so you can get to know the class as well as see what the custom curriculum that I'm making for you is. It's unlike any other class that any other company is opening or has, because it's 5 students max and the curriculum and questions are custom designed for you. So if you're interested in joining, link in the description. Anyway, plug over. It's been a while, I know. You're probably wondering where I've been. Maybe not. I'll make another video about kind of what's been going on in my life for the last little month after I posted that basically flex video, but I won't get into too much detail about it because, this isn't the video for that. Today, I'm going to be talking a little bit more information about the JMSS interview. If you're a year 11 student, you probably have already gotten, or not year 11 student. If you're a year 10 student who tried it for year 11 entry, you probably have already had your interview because they should be wrapping up by next week. If you're a year 9 student who tried out for year 10 entry, then you should be getting your interview outcomes hopefully early August, late July. So in the next couple of weeks, basically, if you're seeing this video when it roughly comes out. So if you haven't gotten any word or information about interview dates and stuff like that, and you've done year 10 entry, don't worry. No one has. They haven't been released. Any of your friends who've been saying that they've gotten anything, they haven't. Hopefully by the time I post this video, it's the same, but yeah. So yeah, usually end of July, early August is when they release the interviews and the timetables and stuff like that, because they tend to want to finish the year 11 entry first and then jump into the year 10 students cohorts. So today I'm only going to be going over some small snippets of the JMSS interview because I don't really want a lot of people to just mimic the exact phrasing and things I say, and I don't want to post all that online because when I do that, I feel like students just blindly copy the things that I say without actually having the substance behind it that makes it a good response. So if you're expecting this video to just knuckle down the exact script to guarantee a place into John Monash, this is not the video for you. Log off. I'm going to actually show you some things that are really, really important before you jump in. So when I was still doing my tutoring business and still getting it up and running, getting funds to get it up and running, I used to do sessions and workshops for companies for the JMSS interview itself. So I would help students prepare for the interview and help them boost up their CVs and help them articulate the answers and things like that. Every year I met a bunch of students who were really, really high scoring in the entrance exam, and they were really confident and they can articulate themselves really nicely, and they seemed like really, really good candidates for John Monash. Results come out, they got rejected. And these companies obviously were flabbergasted because they thought, high scores must mean good candidate. And then they flip the script. They say, the interview matters more than the exam. And, they're trying to make all these guesses and things like that. I'm going to tell you now, yes, the interview and the exam are very two different beasts. If you look at it purely through numbers, John Monash tends to, for the entrance exam, have 1,200 students sit. And out of those 1,200 students, they take 600. The reason they take 600 is because every single year, they interview around 3 times more than they accept. So in a year, if they're expecting to accept 200 year 10 students for their new cohort, then they would interview around 600 of them. And this number fluctuates. It goes from 650 to 500-ish, something around that. But in general, it's always been 1 out of 3. If you compare this to the exam, on an average, there's around 1,200 students. So if they're only accepting 600, that's a 50% acceptance rate. If you do the exam, you have a 1 out of 2 chance to get it, which is not the best, but it's pretty good. If you compare the interview now, it's 1 out of 3. So out of every 5 students, only 1 or 2 of them are able to get accepted. And this is true from my anecdotal experience as well. When I did the interview, there was a group task and things that we had to do. And in my group, there were 5 students and only 2 were accepted, me and another dude. So you need to understand that, yes, the interview is more difficult, but it doesn't necessarily have to be because of the stats. The reason it's more difficult is because no company and no one has really talked about the real thing John Monash looks for. And it's so blatantly obvious that I made a video about this maybe like 8-9 months ago now. It was my first video, or my second video that I ever uploaded. It was terrible. Don't look back at it. This is an update to that video. But I made the video a really, really long time ago, 2 months. The camera was unfocused. And it's basically just that key point that I really talked about. So if you've been interested in the JMSS interview, you've probably seen that video. This is an update to that. So the number one reason students don't get accepted, and the number one reason that these companies don't know what to actually prepare for, is because John Monash is just looking for one thing. So before I tell you this one thing, I want you to understand something. John Monash already know that you're academically inclined. You've already passed the exam. They know you're smart. So in the interview, only a small fraction of the time is really spent in digging how smart you are. There's a lot of smart students that go to John Monash. Every single one of them is smart. If you pass the exam, you're probably considered smart. If a majority of your time when you answer responses is purely just based off academics and how well you score and how much you excel in certain subjects, John Monash is going to think, yeah, we kind of knew that already. You already did the first hurdle that asked us to show that, right? So the interview isn't necessarily testing academic ability anymore. Yes, there are components where they ask you academic ability. If you have group tasks in your session, there's usually a section where they ask you to do a problem and they ask you to work through the problems. If you have interview questions, yes, there are components in the interview where they ask you about how you're finding school, and they might even bring up your portfolio and ask you to explain some things that they find interesting. Yes, there's definitely an academic component in the interview itself, because they just want to reinstate the fact that they know that you are smart, and they want you to show that you are smart. The interview isn't testing academics. It's not. Anyone who tells you that is just straight up either confused or really just trying to push certain practices onto you, which is like, join my class, join my course, and you can get better scores. The interview is really testing passion. Yeah, duh. You already made a video about that 8 months ago. Of course it's testing passion. But how are they testing passion? How can you actually prove you're a passionate student? Now, this video is not going to go over a script because, one, if I just go over a script, it kind of gets rid of the whole filtering system in John Monash, and that's the last thing I want to do, because John Monash has a very good filtering system on students who are actually interested and passionate in science. If you look at their stats, like 80 or 90% of the students end up going into a science, technology, engineering, and math field, and like 80% of them also go to John Monash, right? 80% of them also go to Monash Uni, and the other tend to go to Melbourne Uni or Deakin. But John Monash has a very good process of vetting out people who are passionate about science. So I don't want to just give you a script that reinstates how you can be passionate. I want you to find your own way to actually go about doing it. So this entire video is about something that no one else will teach you and no one else can teach you. Is how to actually showcase your passion for science, why it matters, and why faking it just won't work. So why does John Monash actually care about passion? It isn't just because it's a science school. Passion dictates so much about how you will work as a student. JMSS doesn't want students who just crumble under the pressure when things get hard, because I'm going to guarantee the first exam you do at John Monash, very few students actually end up doing really, really well in that. Like the first linear equations test, most students tend to get like 60, 70%. And you're probably used to getting 90, 80, 100% in your tests from school. The first test will absolutely hammer it into you that this will be difficult. Not because the test is difficult itself, but just because of the environment you're in, and you may have gone a little bit lax and things like that. But John Monash, they tend to write really good exams where they actually test your critical thinking ability, which is why they don't recommend most tutoring companies, because most tutoring companies just teach how to memorize. Anyway, random tangent, not important. John Monash wants students who choose science, this is important, who choose science even when it is difficult. Who choose science even when it is inconvenient. Who choose science knowing it'll be a difficult journey, but still decide to do it because it's going to be hard anyway. John Monash chooses students who choose science every single time, 9 times out of 10. Why? It's because when you have passion and when you go out of your way to pick subjects that are difficult because you are interested and invested in it, one, you actually perform better under pressure. Two, you are more curious about the things and ask better questions, which increase the whole environment and the learning environment. And three, most other people around you are also interested in science and math and technology. I have a friend who I won't name because, he's probably stalking this video now, but he was terrible at math back in the day. He really sucked at math, and he wouldn't score highly in tests and things like that, and he wouldn't necessarily score really, really well because he didn't understand and didn't find math too fun. I taught him a couple of things in circular functions because circular functions is one of my favorite topics in math. End of story. I love that topic so much. Considered one of the most difficult topics by most method students, but it's the most fun topic once you actually understand it. I taught him some things in circular functions, and he ended up scoring consistently better than me in every single exam. And in the final VC exam, he ended up scoring like pretty high as well, higher than me. The reason he did better was because the environment, the people he was surrounding himself with at John Monash were all nerds. We were all passionate about math. We were all passionate about science. We were curious about it. We asked a million different questions. We saw problems in different ways. In math class, if you are a John Monash student, you can agree that most classes are run really weirdly because there's no like distinct rooms and all the classes are really open and there's usually 4 or 5 people on a desk and things like that. You're encouraged to work in teams. And as a result of that, people see questions in different ways and have different approaches to do it. And then when one approach doesn't work, you ask why that approach doesn't work and so on and so forth. And you build that understanding, right? The entire environment about John Monash is built to highlight passion. It's built to showcase inspiration. It's built to make sure that every single student gains something and every single student grows. So John Monash, the environment around it, is only really meant for passionate people to thrive in. So they want to make sure that students who are passionate get in. Makes sense. You can't fake passion. So most students, the issue they have is they say they're passionate about a subject and they link it to their grades. Most students say they're passionate about science, then link it to one line on their CV or one line on their resume. One student says they're passionate about science and say they want to help the world, but they don't really have a clear understanding as to how they're going to do it or why they want to do it and anything like that. A lot of students say they're passionate, but it's not passion. It's just a polished, recited answer. And most scripted answers don't actually showcase curiosity. And the interviews at John Monash, the teachers that are there, have seen hundreds of students. They know who's passionate about science and who's not. They know who has that look in their eye and are fascinated about that look. Every single interview in the John Monash panel. So the key thing that I want you to understand is to really showcase your passion in science. You need to link it to your own experience. You need to be able to link it to your own story. You need to be able to showcase it through the projects you've done, not through the grades you have. You need to be able to showcase it through things outside of your CV. You need to showcase it through the character that you are. It isn't just enough to say, yes, I'm passionate about science, and this is the line in my CV that says it. You should go, yes, I'm passionate about science, and the reason I say this is because I did this project, and I learned this, and this from it. And as a result of that, I was able to do this thing. And then I learned this, and this from it. Then I was curious about this, and I went into this. The key thing about passionate people is when they talk about the things they're interested in, they go on tangents. They go on little sidewalks. And it sounds ridiculous to say, but this is the true essence of someone who's passionate in science. They get carried away explaining things because they really enjoy it. Now, I'm not saying for you to go on random tangents all the time. I want you to be able to sequentially log all your answers in and be able to actually go through a story arc when you do certain things. But the key thing is when you're really passionate about something, you don't need to memorize your script. It just flows. When you're passionate about something, you answer the question and then showcase a whole lot more understanding. When you're really passionate about science, you have a certain glint in your eye. And there's a whole lot of psychological principles that I can bring up and discuss these things, but I won't necessarily do that in this video. I will slowly drip feed certain explanations and things in the coming days about certain things, and I will do this. This isn't something that I'm going to say I do and then not do it, but I will slowly drip feed you certain strategies that you can use to help amplify your passion, but I'm not going to make it public. I'm not going to make all of them public, because when I do that, I feel like a lot of students just won't really follow through. I have some workshops that I go through. They're paid workshops, so they're not free. But for 2 hours, I literally break down your interview responses. I go through really deep psychological principles. I've opened some new sessions. There's one today when you see this video, and then one next week and the week after as well. And I basically just break down as much as I can about how to really prepare for the interview and make sure your CV is phenomenal and make sure your responses are top tier to separate you from every other student that attends the interview. And if you're just curious about the type of environment and stuff that JMSS has, then by all means feel free to check out the link in the description. Should be the second link under the Maths Acceleration classes video. Anyway, this is a giant random tangent. I'm recording for about an hour now, and I probably cut out a bunch of different things where I go on random tangents, because this is something that I'm really interested in, really passionate in. I love talking to students who are passionate about science and things like that. That is really all I have to say. Make sure in your interview that you don't just walk in with a polished resume and a script in your head memorized. Make sure you walk in with actual passion and love for science and showcase all of that throughout. Please comment down anything that you want to see. I'm going to be checking the comments on this video quite actively over the next couple of days before school and uni starts for me. Link in the description for the workshop if you're interested. I go through a whole bunch of detail on psychological principles that you should use for your interview, alongside live commentary feedback for your responses, as well as common mistakes a lot of students make during their interview. So if you're interested in that, link in the description. It's a 2-hour workshop. And if you're not happy with it after, just send me an email and I'll give you your money back. Anyway, that's it. That's the video. Don't like, don't comment, don't sub. Log off and do something else. See ya.